Hello, this is Quad Swordster. Being my first vid, I decided to do something new instead of just reviewing the game. I'm going to analyze it with facts, personal opinion, and then with suggestions and ways to improve the game. Keep in mind that my suggestions are to try and find ways to improve or innovate, and I hope not to change the core of what the game represents. I thought it would be a good time to do this game compared to others in the process releasing their sequels, and the EndWar sequel is on hold for other projects. I'm going to analyze the PC version, although I have played the demos from the Xbox 360. The scenario is a simple World War III in 2020, when the United Nations split, nuclear terrorism, Saudi Arabia cripples the oil industry, causing nations to develop the missile defense plan, and the rise of Russian power from its own oil industry, resulting in taking over its weaker neighbors. European Union is replaced with the European Federation, United Kingdom neutral, and the United States is building a Freedom Star military satellite that causes unrest in the public. You then play as three sides of American Joint Strike Force, European Federation's Corps, and Russia's Spetsnaz Guard brigades, as these nations lead against each other, and you choose one of these sides to play through the World War. You have two ways of playing, and that is playing a single match of a battle called Skirmish, or multiple matches called Theater of War, where you fight for territories in the world map that results to a single match. But after the battle, you get credit to upgrade units and outside supports. To win requires you either secure 28 territories or seize all three capital cities. There are four game types: Conquest, Assault, Raid, and Siege. Conquest is tasked with taking the majority of uplinks by seizing them from the enemy. Assault is just to annihilate the opposing player. Raid is to destroy 3 critical buildings before the time runs out, which if you are playing Theater of War and the attacker wins, the base becomes unavailable, preventing supports for an amount of turns. Siege is when the defender is heavily defended but lacks logistic support, while the attacker is tasked to capture the critical uplink before reinforcements and defender logistic supports become available. Can be seen in Theater of War in the third battle of taking a capital city. The unit that fights with you and against follows the rock, paper, and scissors mechanic that gunships can take out tanks, transport take out gunships, and tanks take out transports. While all infantry units are weak out of cover, they are strong in cover, but cover can be damaged from airstrikes and by artillery. Artillery is strong for indirect fire, but not at close-range combat. Command vehicles usually aren't good at combat unless covered by drones or infantry that follow them, and are more effective of providing recon abilities such as Sitrep mode that allows another perspective view of the battle. Command points are required to deploy units, and for the use of outside support, and are generated after a particular amount of time or by taking uplinks that receive an additional amount of points. Outside supports can only be used, particularly in Theater of War, if you must be in the vicinity of a capital or base, providing the enemy has done a successful raid mission preventing outside supports. During the game, you must control and upgrade your uplinks and choose either Force Recon, Air Support, or an EMP Strike. The EMP Strike is the only upgrade that doesn't require a base or capital. It is used to disable vehicles for a short period of time. Force Recon sends troops to assist, and Airstrike doesn't need much explanation. These outside supports are more powerful by controlling and upgrading more uplinks to provide better assistance. Additional outside supports are received differently. 4 and CMD allows you to place a new landing zone on the uplink for quicker deployment. The final two occur during DEFCON 1 and is executed when one side is winning overall by taking the majority of uplinks in Conquest and Siege, or by taking casualties in Assault. Loser can crash an uplink, preventing its use for the rest of the game, and the use of the WMD, are powerful but non-nuclear weapons, but are kinetic, laser strikes, or the vacuum bomb. After the loser uses one, the winner can retaliate with their own WMD. The story is simple to understand but lacking in detail, and the premise adequate but not believable, such as that nuclear warfare was over. Sure, it would stop ICBMs with nuclear warheads, but what about smuggling the bombs, like in the movie based on Tom Clancy's book, Snowfall of Fears? And even in the game, Tom Clancy hoped this was easily defeated by a private military company doing an EMP strike on the satellites. With the story being simple is also problematic, that you don't really get a shock of events that are occurring, and you even find the mastermind behind it, but aren't surprised as previous events give this clue too easily. The only spoiler, few that they are, is at the end there is no significant difference when you win from either side. Just a typical congratulations, cutscene of the side you played, stats during the war, and then the credits. The theater of war match also is confusing that parts of the nations are not included, such as America's west side. Canada seems not to be involved with the war, and you don't control Russia's east, and there is nothing happening in the southern hemisphere like in the Pacific. Reviewer criticisms of the game was mixed and mostly negative. They made emphasis on areas that I believe are small and few nitpicking. The first was adding a voice command in EndWar, saying it wouldn't work, which I checked. I have gone through 3 headsets with mixed brands, working fine and will rarely mess up unless you don't speak too quietly and unclear. The second was mixed, saying that you can't see from the heavens anymore, but from a third-person view of the units only. I saw no problem with that, and you have an option to do so anyway in separate mode. Sure, this is different and challenging at the start, but you can adapt to it as the Total War game series uses this camera system. Finally was a criticism of graphics. This is usually an unnecessary argument. Sure, I have played the Xbox 3 demo of EndWar and it does show better graphics than the PC. The geometry is okay and the detail isn't bad, just regular graphics. I will say, however, this game isn't underrated, as there are points that do make sense, such as a campaign that isn't like most Tom Clancy games with a huge story, not much of a change between systems to support the PC, with very bad multiplayer support and no replayability. Relying too much on using voice command that, while innovative or popular as a good console RTS, PC players would see as a hardcore version of a Total War game with lack of content. I don't regret buying the game, that I still enjoy, particularly the aspect that it's an RTS that has no base building, and there are a few things to micromanage, and would recommend people to at least rent the game.